One of the biggest myths in metal today is that there are no bands upholding the legacy of the greats. Bands like Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Black Sabbath, Scorpions, Helloween, SAXON and the likes. I mean, sure, metal has changed and there is a lot of this stuff with these big breakdowns and clean vocal stuff out there. But there is also a powerful wave of bands that is not only honoring those legends that we all love, but also evolving their sounds in ways that will make you proud. So let's bust that myth and hear 6 new bands that are flying that flag of classic heavy metal loud and proud. Make sure you stick around for the last band because I think I actually found a guy that could replace Bruce Dickinson if ever needed. We're starting with some raw, analog 80s sound. Chasing Demons were founded in Norway in 2024 and they just dropped their debut album Echoes from the Past. And that album is filled with gritty, cool riffs. Check this out. Now this stuff gives me a total kind of first 2 albums of Iron Maiden vibe. It's kind of like Paul Di'Anno is back, but with a little bit of a Helloween melodic twist. I think this band is perfect for fans of bands like Iron Maiden, obviously, the first 2 albums, maybe the early Helloween stuff, and then there is this band Grim Reaper. I think people that like Grim Reaper will like Chasing Demons. And I'm gonna put a link for you to all the bands in this video in the first comment below. Hunt were from 2017 in California and they play traditional heavy metal but also with some very, very cool hooks and a little bit of a thrashy beat. So their music is a very mixed bag. It sometimes gives me a little bit of this kind of Ozzy Osbourne solo career vibe, but then it kind of rolls over to thrashy speed and then even some punk rock elements in here. Their last album came out earlier in 2025, it's called Ignite, and that was actually their 9th album since 2018, so they're not just retro in their sound, but also in their work ethics. 1 album per year minimum. So I think this band is good for kind of the mid part of Ozzy Osbourne's solo career, and that band, what's called Tigers of Pantang, I think fans of that band might like Hunt. But now it's time to dive headfirst into the darkness. Nite play this blackened heavy metal with a cool 80s edge. They were formed in 2018 in the US and they made 3 full albums. The last one, Cult of the Serpent Sun, came earlier in 2025. Nite's music has this killer coolness about it that just hooks you in. And then their doomy kind of Sabbath vibe makes you feel like you went on a time machine to the 80s underground. So I think that Nite might be good for fans of bands like MERCYFUL FATE, Celtic Frost, maybe Black Sabbath, and those of you who think that Ghost are too poppy, this might just be your jazz. So if you're liking the bands in this video so far and you want to discover more new bands, then I want to tell you about my playlist, New Metal Rock Weekly, that's on Spotify. Updated every Friday with all new music from that week. And there is stuff on there that you won't find on any other playlist. There's a link in the first comment below so you can subscribe. But let's go back to the bands and go for some old school Judas Priest swagger. This band is Venator. They were formed in 2016 in Austria and they play this vintage heavy metal with fist-pumping riffs and retro production. So Venator has almost like this W.A.S.P style theatrical vibe somehow, and that old school production, it just feels like it's ripped from an 80s vinyl. I just love it. It's catchy and it's raw. Venator has made 2 full albums and the last one dropped earlier this year called Psychodrome. And I think if you like bands like Judas Priest, Scorpions even, and W.A.S.P, then you're definitely gonna like Venator. For the next band, we're heading to Norway for some occult darkness. Morax is a solo project that was started in Norway in 2023. They play dark and doomy but still melodic metal that brings together all the stuff that you love from the new wave of British heavy metal. this is filled with cool riffs and twin guitars and all that stuff, but it also has some gothic vibe to it. They made an EP in 2023, but their first full album called The Amulet came out earlier in 2025. So if you're a fan of bands like Diamond Head, MERCYFUL FATE, Black Sabbath during Dio years, maybe even some of Dio's solo material, you're gonna like Morax. But now, let's get Maidenized. Stray Gods were actually formed in Greece in 2021, but they have this Portuguese singer, and I can tell you guys, he sounds just like Bruce Dickinson. And to be honest, this whole thing just feels like I discovered two lost Iron Maiden albums. So this is anthemic heavy metal with galloping riffs, epic melodies and killer vocals. It feels like pure 80s new wave of British heavy metal in all its greatness. Stray Gods have made two full albums, Storm the Walls in 2022 and Olympus in 2023. So if you're a fan of Iron Maiden, you just have to check out Stray Gods. So tell me, did you know those bands already? And drop a comment below with your thoughts on new bands that I need to know about. And I make these videos all the time, so now might be the perfect time to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss the next drop. But if you want more metal right now, then here are 5 thrash metal bands that are proving that thrash metal is not dead, it's alive and kicking. And then down here is something that YouTube really wants you to see.